Yeah.
Oh, well, it appears that we are live. What a lovely concept.
Hey, what a lovely day.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I am Trisky, and I run this bizarre channel of role-playing and shenanigans called Unlucky Rolls. Welcome. Clap. I have to have one finger pressed on a button to talk, so I can't really clap. What's the sound of one hand clapping?
What do you mean? That's
Anywho.
just two pinky claps.
Flap and flap.
Flap, 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 flap.
Clapping, folks!
We're flapping here!
Yep. But we are back in the world of Morgram and the greater world of Entrantia as we join a smaller group of our compatriots today for a more interestingly chill session today. Last session, to catch everyone up, was a big-ass ship battle. Though we mostly just focused on the one group here taking on the flagship of the fleet of foreign Soranian elves. And now they are back in the underwater home of the Soranian, the fish people who live off the coast and who had previously been causing problems for the local settlement of Stantrum, which is a tribe. It's a colony of the nation of Brosh, which is one of the foreign powers that are vying over Morgram at the moment. But they have been on relatively peaceful terms with Brosh thus far, minus the guard, who doesn't like any of them from what they gathered, but didn't kill them because of diplomatic reasons. And now, it is fast forward a few days later, as you have been invited to stay, rest, and heal here in response to the ship fleet that has now been sunk and looted amongst all of the party and the Soranian taking their rightful dues from the ships they sank as well.
I believe they've achieved free real estate.
Shut the fuck up.
Free real estate.
Most of the ships have been, pieced apart and ripped into raw materials at this point, but that process is still ongoing. It's still too early for it to be finished completely. And you have been offered rooms in basically the leader's home down here, as you find yourselves over in the upper east wing of this portion, right near a large theater hall out in the water.
What's playing, Shakespeare?
Shakespeare in the Pond.
Ah, yes, my favorite play.
Entirely in Aquan, though.
What you do notice as the concept of day and night cycles down here is sort of a moot point, as you are far enough down in the water that the sun is harder to see most of the time. It is generally quite dark down here, and everything is primarily illuminated via artificial means, certain coral and biological beings that they utilize. And as you awaken, Zephyr having taken the brunt of it and gotten beat up the most, and Asch recovering as well, but not as badly maimed from that previous combat, you've all gotten to the point where you're feeling right and peppy again as you awaken to a strange sort of chanting and stomping outside.
Oh no.
Whatever could it be?
I would not know.
The others not survive?
The others are in another bedroom.
Oh no, this is just in character. She's thinking as she's waking up, she hears some sort of ceremony and notices that there's a few empty beds.
Ah. The voice in your head shuts up. So, you guys have awakened in this quarter. You've been down here for a couple of days and have mostly been eating seafood and whatnot as of late.
You knew. Who knew fish was nice? Oh, crab? Lobster?
I particularly like this, how is it called again?
Could you show me it?
I show him the sashimi.
What's sashimi again? I actually don't know what sashimi is.
If I recall right, it's like it's kind of like sushi, right? It's similar. It's like raw. It's like raw fish
yeah,
prepared in a way.
It's sushi.
Yeah, it's a form of sushi.
Chaise, I believe that's sushi. Or sashimi by the looks of it.
Yes, it is very small, but very delectable, yes.
Ah, fine. Zephyr, you seem to be looking much better.
Yes, feeling as well. Thank you, whoever took me off the ship. I don't really remember how things ended.
I dragged you. God.
You have my thanks.
No problem. I wasn't expecting a harpy to be so heavy, if you don't indulge.
Cutting back to an image of Asch himself being dragged down in the water by one of the Chopal while holding just like the back of Zephyr's like tail wing as you're blubbering for air.
Yes, well, I wouldn't be able to dive bomb effectively if I was light as a feather, so some say.
Oh, fair. It's a good tactic for a straight-up offense or counterattack.
Are you guys gonna linger around in the bedroom? There's
No,
still
we're gonna
constant.
sleep.
It's like it's a muffled sort of drumming that you're hearing outside. Considering you are well underwater and that is outside in the water, it is a lot more muffled than it usually would be. But such noises have not been pretty common down here.
Yeah, I would gladly go to the source of the noise. See what's going on.
Sure. Chaise, big question. Do you hear that weird noise?
Well, I can hear you, so I can hear the the noise coming from over there.
What the hell is making it? You want to go and check that out?
Yeah. Let us go. Allons-y.
Zephyr, you want to come?
Sure.
Right, come on. Let's go and see what the hell is going on outside.
Where's the
Crap, I was trying to move myself on a YouTube page.
couch is moving. The couch was moving. I saw it move. It's one of my brethren.
Chaise!
You notice that the throne that the big boy. Oh, hold up a moment. Hold up a moment, Chaise.
Yeah.
You've gotten used to this at this point, but I do need to reiterate something that the inside of the buildings is breathable air. The outside is the ocean.
Oh.
I'm the only one. I'm a spellcaster with air bubble, so I can walk outside.
So as you can see, this little like water effect along the edge of it is indicating like where air turns into water.
I'm level 5, so that lasts for 5 minutes. Do I want to go out, though?
I mean, quite a predicament.
You can see very well from here what's going on, but you, as it is under the water, it is once again muffled. But you do see a very large gathering of the local Soranian, including familiar figures such as that secretary that you talk to a lot, and the crazy one, or Sakurla, who runs the place.
Looks like a funny cult to me.
there is some sort of speech which you, as you can probably guess, cannot understand as it's being spoken in Aquan. But Sakrala throws himself into saying all sorts of things with elaborate gestures, and the crowd seems to cheer and respond with like similar vigor and energy. Every now and then in this, you notice that Sakrala gets distracted by something like swimming along next to him and then gets back to the speech as if nothing happened. But
Alright.
overall, it just seems to be this huge gathering as they continue to stomp their feet and holler and everything. And eventually, about 5 or 10 minutes in, assuming you don't interrupt or anything before then,
Oh no, I'm not interrupting. We're watching.
he does one final grand gesture, and the great majority of the others begin to just like mingle among themselves as the leader, or Sakrala, turns on his heels and notices you.
Which
He
one?
waves.
Just waves.
I just wave back.
He keeps waving.
I keep waving.
He
Is
keeps
he beckoning towards you?
No, he's just waving. Eventually, after like 3 minutes of this just waving back and forth, another one of the Sareshali next to him, one of the Chopal, as you know them to be, with a crab spear, taps him on the shoulder and just points inside, like gesturing as if, why don't you just go inside and say hi? And then he's just like, he has this look on his face that, despite his fishy exterior, you can only see as, why the hell didn't I think of that? That's genius! And starts to walk towards you. And as he reaches the threshold, he steps forward, and you all get like a splash with a bit of water as he comes through the barrier.
I skillfully dodge the water by leaping up.
You use
just
your
get shot.
you use your projectile spot dodge skill to dodge water.
And I just get jet
More
stream.
evasion, I think.
And he comes back in, and he starts speaking once again in Aquan, and then he just like sort of shakes his head and realizes that you can't speak that.
I can cast comprehend language.
Well, no, he's just swapping to Bestial Common because he's realized, oh yeah, they don't speak Aquan, they speak this.
Right.
And so he turns once again to you all and says, "Hello, we are celebrating
What are you celebrating?
victory!"
Well, that is something to celebrate.
You take another peek outside and you see a bunch of the fish people, the Sareshaline, moving about in seemingly drunken dance, but it probably looks that way because they're doing it like very slowly underwater, and it looks really wonky.
Yeah. Are you enjoying your celebrations?
Yes! Right.
That's great.
He looks at you again, then looks at the other two, and is just like, none of you can swim.
No.
Nope.
Well, none of us can breathe underwater.
He's about to start going through this whole entire, like, realizing that you can't swim and breathe underwater, like, obsession again, when he, like, notices something
Can
and
I roll
turns
for
around,
reflex?
and the secretary from earlier proceeds up towards him, just, like, popping through the doorway, the barrier really quickly, and actually splashing him aside a little bit. Don't start that again. Okay.
I would rather not drown again, please.
Drown.
Uh-oh.
He steps up to you. And you just have like, even though he's about your same height, he's basically like looming over you as he looks straight into your eyes with like
I'm
the
like
biggest,
leaning back,
the
arched,
biggest,
like,
widest fish eyes he could possibly do. And he's just like, "You will learn."
no, no, I do
Okay.
not.
And then he steps aside and he just like pats little Tommy on the head and just like he's like spinning and pirouetting down the hallway. And you just turn and you see Morlan, the secretary, just like, Jesus Christ.
I know.
Though it's more like fishy Christ.
Silky moves, though.
And Orsakrala continues off back through your bed quarters and off even further. And you just, the whole entire time that he's still within at least the air building, you can hear some strange guttural singing. And once he's out of earshot, the secretary is just like, he's happy. Sometimes that's not the best thing.
How not?
He gets weird when he's happy. Then again, that tends to be the norm anyway.
I was about to say, doesn't seem any different from what he was before.
Oh, trust me. Things have happened. And the secretary just shivers.
What things?
Click a button to move us to the wrong scene. Nothing happened. Anywho.
Well,
Would you-
certainly not without cause.
Would you like to join the festivities?
We would, but we can't swim, nor can we breathe underwater.
I may have a temporary solution for that.
Go on.
I will return shortly.
Okay.
And the secretary fish swims out. And seems to disappear as they float upwards and then outwards away from the city for a little bit. And you are left once again alone with your thoughts in this little area.
Do you two have an idea what she's gonna get?
Perhaps some sort of vessel or a bubble like the one the chieftain created.
That's a possibility. That is a possibility. She could get water root. But who knows?
This is a plant that would allow us to breathe like they do.
Temporarily breathe underwater. You would have to be cautious of its time period. Depending on how fresh or how old it is, it can wildly vary. But let's hope not that. I've personally seen an orc try to swim after eating it. It didn't end well.
Oof.
It lasted only 15 seconds. The orc only lasted 12.
Yes, it'd be hard to enjoy the festivities with having to do fatal math.
There's really not much math to it, as far as I can tell. It's more the fact the fresher it is, the longer it'll probably last. Older, the less. It's what I've come to know.
Perhaps there are people farm it. Though I suppose they wouldn't have much use for it.
True. Well, one of my mothers did say that they used to grow it on her farm, but nevertheless, I've never been there, so I wouldn't know for certain unless I went.
A few minutes pass, and it's calm as usual, minus everything outside that you can barely hear through the muffled water. But after a short moment, you look up, and the barrier once again splashes you all in the face as the secretary pops back in, carrying arms filled to the brim with a peculiar form of seaweed.
Oh dear. By question, what kind of plant is this?
Arrowroot
Arrowroot.
is a local plant. It
Ah,
is temporary, but as long as you're chewing on this, you should be fine to breathe underwater.
Zephyr, I assume you wouldn't have an issue chewing on it.
No. Though your story of the orc makes me a little hesitant.
What is
I
an
believe
orc?
an orc is well, a land-faring like the elves. You know, the people we just fought earlier. They
Oh.
live on the land, they cannot swim very well, but they are brutal in a fight.
Interesting.
And they come in hordes.
Large hordes of land chopal.
Yes, roughly 10,000 per horde.
She just sort of looks at you and then, like, starts counting on her fingers. That's a lot.
Yes, judging what I see outside, and the first-hand experience of you lot besides an orc fighting, I think you guys could fare pretty damn well.
Well, if they can't breathe underwater, we have the home field advantage.
But what happens if they know lightning spells?
The lightning dissipates.
That
There's
is
too much
fair.
to conduct it.
Now that I think about it, you are kind of right. But they could just put boats above your sea, and then irritate you to come above land. Well, sea level. Then they have
Most
the
of the
advantage.
ships that we downed during that siege were downed with Aquan predators that under our command. And just
You know,
like to almost
sometime-
emphasize the point, a shadow looms overhead as another great white, like, flies off.
It just has wings at your Greg Ball that morning.
Well, I mean, everything looks like it's flying when you're under the water.
But the question is, do fish look like they're flying to a crab?
I mean, a crab can take off too if they want, though.
I've never seen a crab take off.
Well, yeah, but a crab can take off
They
about
all
as
can,
well
yeah.
as a human can to dunk a basketball compared to a fish.
Fair.
They can get air, but they can't maintain air. So I would
I
argue,
see.
yes, fish look like they're flying to crab.
That's
The
funny,
philosophical commentary of the Morgram campaign.
Right, Zephyr, do you want me to put this in your mouth for you?
Yeah.
Oh, I would be glad to do so. And before you can even say anything, as you're like opening your mouth to speak in response, Morlan jumps up in the air and like shoves a reed in your mouth.
Oh,
I'll take two just for precaution.
So, Zephyr, what you notice as you have this thing in your mouth, number one, you gag for a moment because you're not expecting it, but shortly afterwards, you start to assumedly chew on it, and it feels like your lungs are a little bit lighter, and the texture of the reed is strangely soft and chewy.
I have tasted work.
Yeah,
Say
it's,
that
it's-
again, Zephyr.
considering it's under the ocean, it's still pretty damn salty, though.
Oh, damn, some good chips.
And with that in mind, Morlan shoves one in Aish's mouth as well while you're looking at Zephyr, and then pauses
Tommy's
as
not
they
done.
look at
Tommy's
Chaise,
not
and
done
is
yet.
just like, where is your mouth again?
I open my maw wide. It.
Ah, there we go. And she shoves one in.
Yeah.
Well, you may have some trouble actually swimming. You can definitely breathe underwater for the time being, but keep in mind that once you chew them all the way down, you may run into trouble, so you may want to return here before that happens.
Gotcha.
But
Zephyr
Side
Kind of-
effects may include vomiting, nausea, sudden dizziness.
Sudden drowning.
To be honest,
Ask your doctor if air reads are right for you.
To be honest, we mostly use these for medications for the sick.
Really?
Oh my god, so my joke about this being a
Yeah,
medication
Yeah,
is...
you learn later that it's like basically just their cough medicine.
Side effects may also include, but may not be disclosed, minor schizophrenia. Mild voices in your head. Oh god, I'm not continuing with the skit.
Stammering about.
Yep.
You may wake up stammering about an ancient city deep into the ocean.
I do have something I would like to ask if you might like to see.
Yes, I would love to see it.
Trust me, I will get you protection for this, but would you like to see the place where Sakura was born?
I think that will be nice. When you think, Chaise, Zephyr? Cultural exchange.
Cultural exchange, yes. Oui, oui.
Very well, we shall come.
Excellent. Follow me. And Morlan, this is where we go a little bit more theater of the mind. Morlan steps out once again, and in this large crowd of them, you notice many of the Chopal standing around like honor guard near the pedestal where Sakura was giving his speech. Morlan motions to some of them and speaks something briefly in Aquan. And about 8 of them swarm around you in basically like a protective position as Morlan leads the way. And begins to swim out eastward as you travel for a good while. The Chopal wind up dragging you, those of you along who have a little bit harder time moving quickly under the water, to make it not take all day, even though, as I said before, concept of day and night is sort of non-existent here. And you are now after about like half an hour, you arrive at a place where they stop, and Morlan turns to you and says, "We are on the border."
The border of what?
The Chopalian Plains.
I see.
And the Chopals surrounding you seem to do like an organized motion, spinning their crab spears and stabbing the hilts into the sand below you in like preparation. And they all seem in a combat ready mindset, as behind them you can see a massive deep ravine, even darker than everywhere you've been before.
Well, that's deep.
Just
Don't
as you
see
say
that
that,
many-
you see a red glint down in there as tentacles reach up, and one of the Chopal almost instinctively swings the blade, and the creature that it originated from whimpers and leaves, leaving behind the tip of a massive tentacle about the size of your torso.
Well, I think I'm stepping back from the ledge.
Consider me spooked.
The
Chaise, why
Chopal.
in here?
The
Go on,
Chopal
what?
are trained here from birth.
Yeah, I can see it made some good wars if it's so dangerous.
Oh, that is a most wonderful tradition, and it is always important to teach the young the art of battle and survival. It is important. I must know this. And then I'm having
Yay.
another tragic flashback.
Just like going back to the chair wars.
Chair wars.
Charge my chairs! The sofas will not beat us now, brothers!
Just like table artillery.
They're just shooting huge turkey legs.
A janissary of the Ottoman quote-unquote empire.
Shut the fuck up. God damn it, that's brilliant. But shut the fuck up.
Chaise, I don't think that's what she's implying. Well, is it a she or is it he?
This is a she.
I don't think that's what she's implying, Chaise. I think it's more the fact of the ones that live get to move on. The
It's a
ones
98%
that die,
mortality rate.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to explain. And the ones that don't, well, they don't. The ones
When she
that
says
choose the
that
right-
there's a 98% mortality rate, she says it with like the most like, it's as if she's just like referring to the weather. That's how casual she says it.
Jesus, is it really that common?
Yeah, you would be surprised how common death is in life. Another tragic flashback.
You notice a
say
small
inevitable.
cloud of fishy blood floating up by you as it dissipates into the water.
Well, I think we might have overseen.
I
our
never
welcome.
intended you to actually go down there. This is about as far as I intended to bring you.
Oh, don't worry. I don't think I intend to jump into the darkest bit of the ocean that I can see. Actually, hold on. If I use dark vision, can I like see further down?
Yeah, go ahead. Toss that in the chat. So as you cast dark vision,
Wait.
you try and look further down into the deep of this.
It's like,
And
I want to try and see the creature itself. I want to see like how big it is.
you look down below, and strange finned creatures covered in spikes and with massive sharp teeth that are twice the size of the great whites that you've been seeing by their homeland are swimming about under the water, biting into one another and hiding in holes and whipping about. You notice one massive octopus who basically, like, the tip of the pinky of their tentacle is missing, and you can assume that that is the same one about the size of your torso that's lying next to you right now. Basically, you know the really deepest parts of Subnautica where everything is scary as shit?
Oh yeah, like in the void.
Yeah, triple that.
Just don't go too far out of bounds.
Yeah, do you want to know something funny, right? Someone made a mod for Subnautica where there's something called the Void Leviathan. It is so fucking huge.
You probably say something akin to that. Luckily for you, there seems to be some strange, unspoken barrier that prevents them from traveling much further than the top line of this ravine.
Well, would you look at that? Okay, can I like try to keep a memory of like what all of them look like, so I could just like note it down in my little journal?
I mean, you can pull out a sketchbook right now if you want. It'll be wet as shit, though.
No, as in later, because I left my notebook at my bed.
Yeah, I mean, you have a pretty solid vision of, like, at least the basics of it, but you're not going to get close. Like, even with the dark vision that you're turning on, you aren't getting close enough that you can really see the details, because as soon as you're close enough to see the details, you're close enough to be eaten.
Yeah. Zephyr's got anything to do?
Zephyr's just kind of experimenting how well she can kind of fly swim, kind of like twirling around upside down a little bit, but staying close to the group because she turns over and sees some of the shit that's around.
I don't know why in my head I just imagine like doing the astronaut leaps.
Yeah,
It's basically
Definitely
like
stay
moon
close.
gravity.
This is Major Kobold to Zephyr Tom. Zephyr, come over. This is Sea Control. Come on, repeat over.
I think it's control. This is Zephyr. I'm seeing a strange anomaly outside of the boundary.
Could you report over?
Going well so far. Over.
Roger, Roger. You may touch the anomaly. Over. It just explodes inputs.
So,
Rather
Zephyr,
not,
as you're
over.
doing this, you're floating by the ravine and doing this whole entire game right next to the border of the massive pit. And you actually glance your wing against, like, basically the top horizon line of the ravine as it would equal out with the rest of the ocean floor. And as you do and you graze it, you feel your feathers being pushed back at that point, and a strange presence there.
Just kind of this quick, like shudder, like dart off to the side. But then as she just kind of
It gives you the closest thing to harpy goosebumps that you can possibly get as it courses through you.
You're right, Zephyr.
Yes, I touched something.
What do you mean something? Just water.
You touched the border.
The border?
Yes, the great border. It is what keeps them away from us.
Huh. Could I do like arcane insight to see if it's magical?
Yeah, you can do that.
Actually, do I have anything? Let me just check.
I'm pretty sure you have some form of detect magic, I believe.
Yeah, I have detect magic. I think. Yeah, I got detect magic.
Yeah. Yeah, you can detect magic, and you see this layer of basically in your ethereal, like, divining vision, it comes up as what looks like a pure, bright purple, like, floor that stretches out across the ravine in front of you.
Sorry, could you repeat that?
It cut out a little bit.
Yeah, it cut out for me.
Excuse me. I will have you know, Kichi, that I graduated top of my class in the FBI. Alright. I mean, you sort of have to do. I only have so much vocal range that I can do.
Kichi's my girlfriend, by the way.
Good. Anywho.
At least I think that's Ruby.
But, yeah, it's
Yeah, could you repeat?
basically this long, over the ravine with your vision, you see this ethereal purple, like, hazy floor going all the way across at level with the rest of the seafloor surrounding it.
Is it like thick or is it like thin?
It is thin, very thin.
Like scarily thin?
For a barrier, it is way too thin for what you would normally assume would be safe.
Can I just like turn to the secretary and just like tell them that this does not look right?
Are you sure?
Secretary?
You look down as she points actually behind you as you say that, and looking into the rift, you can see probably what looks to be akin to a megalodon fighting a giant octopus as they rise towards the top in like a wrestling match, and they look like they're about to reach the barrier. And as they do, if they were land creatures, it would be like the wind was burst out of their lungs as they bash against it and are sent rocketing down into the depths below. I think the barrier is doing just fine.
Yes, but there is some to be concerned, because as a magic user myself, I can see that magic line itself. It is scarcely thin.
Yes, and it is frighteningly powerful for what it is. You don't need a thick barrier, you need an effective one.
That is fair, but I would recommend caution in the future.
They will look into it, if it is an issue. But I appreciate your concern.
Well, it's a nice city and nice people. Rather not lose such great company and great culture.
And the response from Morlan at this point, just sort of just a nice little nod of the head, a spin on her heels as she starts walking back the way you came, and the guard promptly reasserts itself in formation, and the previous arrangements of some of them dragging you along a little bit faster resume.
Just like I don't know why. I don't know why, but in my head, I just imagine Ash just like dog poke tongue is swinging. The guy dog out the window of a car. Funny as that is in my head.
Damn it. I'm just getting the image now. Fuck you.
It will never leave.
But as you return back to the homestead of the Cerechaline, you come back, and what was previously a bunch of people fish people stomping their feet and dancing, has now turned into a strange sort of like rhythmic reverie as they sway back and forth together, almost like seaweed.
Zephyr just kind of floating in place, starts to try to mimic it.
I may as well. I'm also trying to mimic.
Trying to do it as well.
Yeah, I'm trying to mimic, guys. I'm trying to turn into a chest.
As a mimic, I am obligated to mimic. And I'm also
Yes.
Yes. The magic of mimic is to mimic mimics.
But to mimic is to mimic, which is mimicry at the mimicist.
Yes, yes. It is. You join in this strange looking ritual that they are all doing. The Chopal that were with you also join in a lot more enthusiastically, and Morlan looks at you a little bit, sort of interested in how quickly you adopted it, but joins in on the proceedings herself. As this motion back and forth slowly seems to churn the water around you.
Right.
Much more than it should.
Huh. Okay.
You then notice something a little bit strange from what you've noticed. Normally, as you've been down here, the fish have been basically swimming past the houses and whatnot as if nothing happens. Occasionally, a really dumb fish will fall inside of the air barrier and have to get kicked back out into the water or something. But that is a rare once-in-a-time motion. Now, this area is entirely devoid of basically all sea life except for like the starfish and other like stationary crustaceans.
I just want to imagine like all this noise and shit's going on. Merasmus and Runt don't actually hear it and just playing cards. Just playing like a monster's version of Uno.
This strange water churning actually isn't making as much noise as you think it should.
No, I was referring to like earlier and such.
I mean, the earlier one was still very muted, so it's possible that they could have slept through it.
Nah, they're just playing Uno, bro. They got Uno.
Yeah. They do. They
Never
got the
still
oldest
believe they're
Xbox
dead.
known to man.
Yeah, the Rocks box.
Yep.
They
But
said it has the Uno
as
man
it
fans.
seems like this ritual of theirs comes to a head, they all suddenly stop, and in the middle of this small arena, in this small like little theater area, just about here, where Sakurla was before, there is a churning whirlpool rising up towards the surface.
Hey, more than that. What is that?
It is the ritual to
What is the
sacrifice
ritual?
in appreciation of a well-done victory.
Ah,
Normally it's against a great sea creature that's come from a foreign land. But in this case, it's still foreign. It's just those longshanks, as you call them.
well, they're called elves. It's just our goblin friend knows them as ear shanks.
See. Well, you can see for yourself what's about to happen there. As you see another Chopal nearby slowly is approaching from the left side with a singular elfin in chains with a bubble around their head.
Couldn't find an elf token.
What are you talking about? I'm totally not stealing it from another lair.
I was joking.
I was literally doing that as you were saying that shit.
Don't need to remove the X. I mean, he's getting there anyway.
No, what
Yeah.
do you mean? The action just proven he's gonna die.
He is being dragged. There's an air bubble around the head, and they're squirming, but the strength of the Chopal and their lack of like power and strength underwater is stopping them from breaking free, as only the one Chopal is needed to drag them all the way towards the whirlpool at the center.
Hey, it's not one of the elves from the elf fleet.
And you can see the wide, fearful eyes of this elf as it looks at this whirlpool. And a crab spear is pressed against the back of his spine.
Man, that's Soranian. Well, let's not intervene and let it happen.
Zephyr's slowed or swaying down a little bit. It's just very uncomfortable.
Do you need a hand, Zephyr? Because you seem to be floating a bit.
No, just it's been an interesting day. Must be a wound acting up.
Are you sure? You seem to be floating.
Oh yes, just enjoying the lightness.
It's like Zephyr's
Our
like
surroundings.
spinning as well. Well then, and I guess you can enjoy your spinning.
Thank you.
So, Chaise, what do you think's going to happen?
I put on my stoic face.
It's just Jotaro's face. Oh.
Ooh.
Ho ho.
The large whirlpool in the center spreads out further and wider as it continues to rise and spiral towards the surface of the water far, far up ahead. And the spear pressed against the back of this one surviving Soranian elf is pulled back for half a moment and then forcefully jabbed through as they fall face first into the whirlpool and begin to rise along with it. And the rest of the Chopal look at this and begin to cheer in celebration. The body sways and the sheer power of the tide seems to be ripping at its clothing as it gets pulled up further and further. And eventually, as the cheers reach their peak, it's out of view. And the whirlpool at the bottom begins to die, curling in on itself and rising along with them.
Hmm.
Do you think he simply was sent to the surface?
I doubt that with the spear put through the back.
Oh, yes, that would
My
would do it.
assumption is it is probably a sacrificial ritual.
I believe they are now. How do those long shank mafia people put it? Sleeping with les poissons.
I believe the phrase is sleeping with the fishes.
Or the gulls.
Oh,
depending on
so
the
that's what
direction.
they are called in your language. Poisson means fishes.
Well, I was raised by, well, foreigners. I learnt their language. My assumption would be that that would be fish.
Oui, oui.
El poisson, je vis.
They're gone. And all is calm. Oh, wanna get some food?
Hell yeah!
Oh
Just like as
Anyways.
casual as if it was nothing. Just like, wanna get some food? Here, let's go.
Just like one of the Chaise just like turns into like a mini air underwater submarine, goes after the person's body for food. I want another head.
The secretary just slips past you inside, and you also all notice that it's about time for you to get back inside anyway, as your supply of this air reed is dying. You've been chewing about the last tail end of it.
I think we should go inside. I think we're bound to reach our end with this seaweed. I just
Alright.
drag Chaise inside. Come on! Oh
Get back
God,
up
I
on
hope
the
I never
chair.
get into a furniture company. Ah, there we go.
I try to float. But I keep failing, so you have to tie me with the makeshift rope. Like a balloon chase.
Ba-doop.
Just like embedded salt from the seaweed that's been used to drag you around.
Get purchase back up on the chair and looks for like anything resembling like a trash can or something. Just spit the remaining weed in.
Yeah, there is no such trash can. So your assumption at this point is very likely to just spit it back out into the water.
Back through the force field from over here.
You spit it out, it looks like it's about to drop, and then it hits the water, and then it slowly gets carried up.
I'm just gonna keep chewing on mine. Actually, can
It
I roll
tastes
for
like
nature
salt.
insight on it?
You continue to chew on it. It tastes like salt.
Hell yeah.
Watch the floating piece be like a Chekhov's gun. Someone gets like stuck out there with nothing to help them breathe, but it happens to just float by.
It's just one poor Soranian elf that's still surviving. He's hanged onto like a barrel or something. I wish I had something to breathe. And then just like, ba-doop. Oh, hello.
Offers a good 5 seconds of breathing, continues to drown.
And then Chaise just eats his body later.
But yeah,
Chaise, what did I say to you? Stop eating
Morlan
random
at this point
bodies.
sort of leaves you to your own as they proceed off to do other things. You've been informed of where the general food area is off to the east over here mostly.
Right. Right, guys, want to go and get something to eat?
Yeah,
Yes, of course. More sashimi.
Right, I hope you can hold your breaths now. Even though we won't be running in the water for very much. Let's go.
You can swim that short bit. Asch looks like he's flailing as he goes across.
We're just like conga lining.
Despite what the society looks like, the majority of what they're doing seems to be things you would expect from most tribal cultures.
I'm guessing this furniture
Jumping
and
the
stuff's probably
line,
not actually
shake
wood.
your body on time.
Yeah,
Oh,
this
I
furniture
believe
and stuff
you.
is not so accurate as it would be.
Yeah, I would just
Most-
assume it's made of coral.
Yeah, most all of the furniture in this place is actually made of varying forms of coral and sea stone and whatnot. It's carved with elaborate symbols and stories written in pictures all across it.
Tribal. Ooga
And
maga.
the Sarashaline themselves are about doing various tasks to keep their society running. Now
Right,
and
so
then
you're in
you'll
the
run
kitchen
into
all-
one just writing on a piece of seaweed. They do actually have some form of documentation.
Salty papyrus.
Yeah. Hello, Sans.
Shut the fuck.
Yeah.
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 Hey, look, it's Sans Undertale. Shut up.
Hey, look, it's Sans underwater.
Oh yeah, pasta con il Tony. We're gonna have pasta with seafood.
It's your Bononi, mania. Come on. What's the matter with you? The dance
Yeah.
it with spaghetti with sushi.
The strangest kind of pasta made from underwater
Fish.
sponge.
Oh no, we're gonna eat sponge.
Well, I don't see
Yes.
why you would be disagreeing with it. Your stomach can probably digest the stone.
You are correct. Yes, that gets me thinking.
You just start eating the building.
There are some things you've learned from the couple days down here that you definitely steer clear from because your body literally can't digest it.
Stays clear from the water.
Any of the coral-based meals are a no-go for any of you, except for maybe Chaise, who is a mimic and can basically ingest most anything. But for Zephyr and Asch and Runt as well, it is definitely staying the heck away from anything made of coral, anything made of any like remnants of sea rocks and whatnot, because they try and use everything that they can. And some of it is edible to the Sarashaline and most nobody else. But what you can eat is, I mean, it's seafood. You know how you like seafood. If you do or you don't.
Tastes like cod. With side order. Sushi. Wait. Salmon. Yes.
But other than the feasting and the strange ritual that you partook and observed, things are still pretty calm down here. They're continuing to rip apart the remains of the ships, of course, as that's going to be a couple weeks longer, actually, considering the pace that they're doing it and how much they're discovering in the midst of it as they do so.
God damn it, Chase. I didn't think you would try it.
Yeah?
The fucking eyes. It makes me look like I'm fucking insane.
That's what they're talking about right now, by the way. A little image that Chase posted in our chat. Oh, shit. Oh, okay, cool. Somehow I was able to just Control Z that, thank goodness. I almost deleted the entire scene for Monsters of Morgram by accident. I'm sorry, guys. The campaign is over. It's canceled. That's too much work to redo to copy like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 images back. Yeah, no, I'm not doing that.
Can't believe this face has launched 1,000 destructions.
It said the face itself nukes everything.
Including this entire session.
It's
Oh, no.
cast Eldritch Blast at 10th level.
It summoned a Tarrasque and ate everything.
It's summoned a dragon turtle. Because a Tarrasque is a land-based mammal.
It discovered
Hey,
a
the
location
Tarrasque
of
don't give a
Alchemy
shit.
of
It
Summer
eats
Home.
the ocean.
That is fair. It'll probably try to eat the ocean and die from drowning. But it had to go.
But anywho, is there anything in particular you wanted to... Anybody you wanted to talk to, or anything in particular you might have had an interest in exploring while you were down here, now that you have a bit of freedom of mobility, what with the air raid?
Hmm.
Well, I'm pretty sure we consumed all of it, but I did mention earlier that...
There is more that can be
but
gotten.
Asch picked up 2. As I said earlier.
It grows nearby. They use it for medicine. It is actually relatively plentiful.
I'm going to have a look at the church after my character's done eating.
What
Oh,
at least
shush,
from the
Ichi.
outset seems to be a local religious structure.
Zephyr will check that out too.
Ah, I see, Zephyr. You're interested in religion too?
Somewhat. I'm interested in knowing the different beliefs of different peoples.
I would agree. It's an interesting mindset to learn from foreign cultures. Sadly, none of my parents ever told me their religions, if they ever had any.
Your parents were not like you?
No, they weren't like me. At least I don't think they were purple last time I remembered.
But,
One-
reptiles.
No, they weren't scaly at all. One is a tiefling, one was an elf, a dwarf, and a human.
Huh. Interesting.
As I said before, I was raised by foreigners. The coming on how they got my hands on me when I was mere hatchling, or an eggling, is beyond my knowledge. of
Oh,
life.
look, it's the shadow of a ship that I didn't notice before.
Yeah, that's why I was pinging it.
Reinforcements!
Reinforcements! And you just see like elves with diving bells and shit.
They wanted to
God,
get the one guy that
super
that was
elves.
sacrificed.
Death charges start just destroying every building. We watch as everything around us goes and we don't have anything to breathe.
Well, I have the one spare route on hand.
Oh damn. World dilemmas though.
So you swim on over to the church. I mean, you guys have a bit of mobility and freedom now.
Yeah, I swim over to the church and have a look in and be quiet because they seem to be having a sermon.
You come into the building, as usual with the rest of this art. It's not built out of wood, it's built out of coral and sea stone, as usual. There are glyphs and pictures everywhere of many things. And you look up and you see one of the Sereshaline in Aquin doing what you assume is basically the equivalent of like a minister's sermon.
Yeah.
As the other two like wave their arms back and forth in like a flowing back and forth motion.
Aisha is just gonna like sit on the coral chair behind them and just like watch.
Also, just to address the stream elements thing that is confusing everyone. It is not working as I intended it to. It is supposed to be 3 comments posted in succession, but it has been staggering them out. So, yeah, that was supposed to be immediately following the previous message. I'm going to have to fix that.
Yeah, so don't worry, it's just broken.
But, yeah, there's this...
Oh, no, if you're talking about Kichi, she's just confused on my bloody character's backstory.
Is raised by an elf,
okay.
a dwarf, and a human. What's there to
And a
worry
tiefling.
about?
4.
Tiefling, yeah.
2 mothers, 2 fathers.
Yeah.
Two
So
mamas and two papas. Did they have a band?
Yeah, one was Papa Roach and the other was Daddy Bo.
Oh, I was gonna make a California Dreamin' reference.
damn.
I have no idea who that
Don't worry,
is.
I got it.
I have no idea what that is. I'm not from Cali.
So, for those of you who may not be aware of some of the races in the world, technically we're in Pathfinder, but it shares a lot of the races that D&D has. This is also a homebrew world and universe, so it's basically more custom made. Some things may or may not exist as they usually are, but a tiefling is basically like a not exactly a dragonkin, because there's also dragonkin, but they are
They are mostly referred to like a demon.
yeah, they're sort of like a demon spawned humanoid, except they aren't usually evil.
Yeah. Dwarves are just short humans, humans are humans, and elves are just humans, but taller with pointy ears.
And attitudes.
Tend to have attitudes. But yeah.
Stereotypes, hey. But yeah. As you are inside of this ceremonial building and they're performing this ritual, no one seems to give you any heed, but Asch, I actually do have a skill check for you.
Oh boy, I love skill checks.
I would like you to do, I believe it should be, I'm thinking Knowledge Arcana. I forget if it's exactly listed as that.
Well, because there is religion and arcana.
Whichever one would be your preference. But it would be, in this circumstance, more fitting for it to be Knowledge Arcana.
Or 21.
Alright, yeah. These images remind you of something that your family mentioned and showed you briefly in books in the past. It is depictions of an underwater goddess. A long, finned creature, by, like, human contemporary standards, quite gruesome and ugly looking, but powerful and large, with a large jaw and pincers like a crab and everything looming over the ocean. But the depictions here are not as if it's some form of demon to be feared, but some god to be worshipped. And you recognize this as looking very similar to something from the texts you've read along with your parents of other cultures' gods.
Which one would it be recommended to? I know I'll find this
The
myself.
name that you think of is Kote.
Kote, how'd you spell that?
I'll type it in the chat for you, but it's Kotae.
Alright.
With a little apostrophe there. Because of course it has to be.
By the looks of it, Zephyr, they might be preaching to a god called Kote.
Kote.
A
Interesting.
god of the sea. Chase,
She
you're in the
demands.
building.
She's a god that demands blood. Then
No, she is the god of the oceans, if I recall correctly from my childhood. Well, I say childhood, technically. I'm still a child by most racist standards. But,
What you do recall of the stories was it was a foreign ocean god, but you didn't really get that far into studying it. It was sort of like along the more lines of history and general knowledge of the origin of arcane magic kind of thing that you were studying.
I'll play with that. Well, if I remember so, Kota might be a dwarven human god. I remember them two preaching it to me the most. My mother and my father. Sometimes I wonder where they are. And others, I wonder if I would ever run back into them. Hmm.
Fate willing. I
Pardon?
wonder the same about my sisters.
Well, the difference there is that you have a place to go to. I do not.
I would not be so sure. They've much like around here, they've gone to war with the Longshanks, and well, according to the secretary, headed north. There's nothing for me back at our old lair.
I guess you, me, and Chaise. Well, you, Chaise, and I have something in common. We don't really have a home.
Well, yeah, you are right.
Well,
Yes, the chairs are
talking about home
The chairs are a
makes me-
nomadic species.
makes me think about my
especially
career.
especially after the sofa wars.
Yeah.
We've been driven out of our homeland by
of
sofas.
Cherconia. Just like I just wanted to laughingly imagine just chairs growing off trees. It's IKEA, but better.
You think the wheelie chairs are their own thing, or you think that's just upgrades?
Damn it.
Really chair
What about
on a
mobility
abomination.
scooters? What about mobility scooters? They're technically moving chairs.
She fucking Chaise, official lore, Chaise hails from the infinite IKEA.
She's an anomaly. Anomaly. But back to the cat. Well,
But yeah, the ritual doesn't seem to do much of anything more elaborate. They just seem to be like entranced in this like religious stupor and zealousy as they continue listening to their pastor, minister, whatever the heck they call it in their culture, whatever he's saying about this god in a tongue that none of you understand.
Well, I do not really understand his tongue, but it seems like he is at least a captivated two of the flock.
I'm just resisting the urge to start singing along.
Zephyr.
It's a joke.
No, that's not what I was implying. Well, Zephyr.
I believe they're talking to you in character.
Oh no, she was answering in character. She's like, oh no, that was a joke.
Oh. Well, maybe someday we ever meet my parents on the roads or our travels. I'll actually introduce you all. I remember my father quite fondly. He may be a dwarf. He might like his beer. But one thing he never dropped was his act of zealotry against those who did out wronged.
I literally,
like a man after my own heart.
I'm sorry, but I thought you were about to say the one thing he never dropped was his child.
Ash just got hit in the head. That's why he doesn't have really much of a kobold nature.
That's the scars.
Yeah, you got the kobold skittishness knocked out of your brain by being dropped as a child.
Quite literally, there's like a small like crack on the back under the hat.
No, that's what a hat covers.
Yeah,
I have this strange marking on the back of my head. My family told me that was a birthmark.
it takes off the hat. Hey, yeah, so this is a birthmark.
It looks almost as deep as the ravine you were just looking at.
It goes into the skull. But back into character though. But yeah, maybe sometime. But I will say be cautious around my other mother. She may be a tiefling, but she's feisty. And she likes feathers. A lot of feathers, actually. She's a bit of a bird person.
Oh. Well.
Hey, you have something in common, except you'd probably like to keep yours.
Well, so was the innkeeper. We got along fine.
Yes. It's hard, but you see the difference is here. My mother likes to collect. Who takes the feather out of the hat? She likes to collect feathers.
Ah.
As I'm like, just like got my thumb of my index finger, like spinning it in my hand. And the thing
Spins
is,
feather menacingly.
Jojo menacing symbols just start peering around me. And you see, this feather is from her homeland. From, I believe she's a Brosh citizen. And these birds that she managed to pluck out at least a few feathers from are not a very pacified bird. They are incredibly hostile and incredibly dangerous birds of prey. My mother once said they are bigger than an elf, stronger than a horde of orcs when angered.
You see her eyes narrow a little bit, but she's like, when did she take this bird?
Much before my own hatching, I must say, Zephyr.
Well, it would be, it sounds like someone interesting to meet either way.
Yes. I swear my mothers would probably have plenty to go off about. My dad would probably be preaching my queers about being such a great adventurer and following my heart to adventure the world around me. On the other hand, my other father would probably be scolding me. He may be an elf, but at least he has some fatherly qualities to be protective.
As this conversation goes on, the seemingly zealous revelry between them all seems to come to a, well, for lack of a better word, a high before tapering off very quickly, and almost what looks like a casual conversation as the one doing the preaching just sort of like waves as the other ones casually, and they walk out past you.
What are they talking about?
They're talking in Aquan about what looks like just casual conversation. It's basically like they just like, okay, we're done, bye.
Hey, thanks for visiting.
Bye-bye.
See you next sermon.
Bye-bye now.
Bye-bye.
After anything that seems to be rather energetic or religious in their culture, it seems like they just get very casual afterwards, is everything you've noticed so far.
Well, at least what do you call it? What are these guys called again? Aquans?
They're called the Sereshaline. Aquan is the language that they're speaking.
It seems like the Soranian have a pretty good religious order down here.
I'm impressed by their buildings as well. Do you think these were here, or did they craft them from the stone around us?
Ash walks up to the wall and just like puts his hand down the side of it, and but he rubs his thumb into the hand. His rest of his
Did you
hand
want to roll a skill check to see what you can decipher of it?
Yeah,
Ooh, that's
because
not up at the door.
he's gonna try and just like discern how old the stone is to see if its masonry is.
Yeah,
pretty
it would
damn
be
old.
the best thing would
I would say
probably
history
be
or engineering.
dungeoneering.
Oh, dungeoneering. Okay. I got a 18.
What you can seem to notice is that most of these buildings were carved out of already stationary stones in the area, and it, like, from a short inspection, you look outside with your rice weed and check along the bottom edge. These used to be like small mounds in the ocean floor before they were crafted into these buildings. So it's sort of like the equivalent of mining out caves and living in it, except it's done with undersea rock.
Right. So I turn to Zephyr. By the looks of it, Zephyr. I take the weed out of my mouth. After checking around the structure,
You take the weed out of your mouth, you start to drown because you're still out in the water, and then you step back inside.
Yeah, so anyways. By the looks of it, these used to be mounds of underwater stone. As he's like tapping on the side of the stone wall. And by the looks of it, these used to be just cave hovels until they properly carved it up and, well, built a proper structure out of it.
Huh. And to drain the water, magic probably.
Most likely it's a stationary air bubble spell as he just points towards the door. Most likely it's some sort of inscribed cantation into the building's foundation somewhere. But I'm not really an expert in that regard.
She'll just whistle. Interesting. The my people were number one for construction. The first Longshanks we met were builders.
And how did that go?
Huh. Good for a while. Then not so well.
Vietnam flashback, please.
The harpies are in the trees!
We grew to trust them, bond with them. But one day, we had all returned after a hunt. A couple of my sisters had laid clutches of eggs, and they were destroyed. The only others who knew about our lair were the Longshanks we had befriended. They took revenge, killed several, but it didn't seem right to me. Something... I don't think it was all of them, if any of them.
Oh no, it was a conspiracy.
Oh God, they're not long ears. They're lizard men.
All of
In
a sudden, Mark
disguise.
Zuckerberg pops out.
It's like
we
all of a sudden,
unnatural
Chaise
smile.
pulls out her. All of a sudden, Chaise pulls out her pinboard. All right, look at this. I've been keeping tabs on this individual Longshanks
Fuck
called
off.
Pepe Sylvia.
Fuck off.
Just like red spider silk threads between everything.
That is what you need to draw now.
Pepe Sylvia.
Just
Where
that-
in the world is Pepe Sylvia?
Just that one scene from Always Sunny in Philadelphia. Just fucking, except it's Chaise, just like slapping against the board in the middle of a cave.
And then, like, I'm giving, here, thank you, Lolo, say, and, wait, who are you talking to? Well, that's Loloche. He's the Aquan who tipped me off to Pepe Sylvia. Oh my god, you have lost your mind.
It
Chase,
was actually just Pepe Sylvia the
Chase,
entire time.
I know you like your little Pepe Sylvia, but you're starting to scare the rest of the team, okay? You need to come back to reality. Come on, you can do it. Let's
Take a
breathe.
deep breath.
You take a deep breath, the air smells like weed.
Smoke weed every day.
Anywho, wrapping it back around, you're standing around inside of here as the we'll just call him the minister, but you don't actually know the term they use for it, so it may very well not be. But the quote-unquote minister is standing there, seeming to arrange some dried seaweed pamphlets and whatnot, as he just looks at you, just sort of like curious as to why the hell you're just standing there.
Just like,
Screaming about Pepe Sylvia.
just like, hello? Can I talk to you about Qatar, or let Qatar into your hearts and minds, please, sir? Qatar Hearts and Services. You know Genova Witness joke? No?
He tilts his head at you.
I'm not doing it in character. I'm just making the joke.
He still tilts his head at you,
I
almost
move
as if
over-
he
I move-
knows.
I'm gonna move up to him and try to start a conversation with him. Hello?
Norm speak, eh?
Yes, I don't speak Aquian. As I take a seat on the coral bench.
What brings you? You are the guest.
Yes, and I'm a person who is studious. I'm a wizard. I wish to learn things, so I wanted to come and see what your religion was like.
They're looking at you and they're tilting their head a little bit again, and they tap the pile of pamphlets to line them up properly on the little countertop of coral that they have. And then they look at the other two and they're just like, and them?
Oh, they're merely wandering around with me to have a look around the place. But majorly they're just having some chit-chat between each other on something called Salve Pepia, or something of that matter.
Weird.
Tell me about it. It sounds like they're going insane.
Hmm. Now let me tell you about the fish mother. And as soon as they say that, they like walk up to you and shove one of the pamphlets in your hand. And it has the same kind of image of that really long, looming, ominous form with like a Cthulhu-esque head and crab claws for hands and whatnot.
Oh my god. It's
I take 1d4 of damage. I take 1d4 damage of being shoved with a piece of seaweed.
You take
It's
a
the
paper cut.
Cthulhu version of the Watchtower.
No, I take a paper stab. And I just I take the seaweed pamphlet and look at it, and I just pull out my journal that I kept warm, kept dry with bubble, and I just like start taking notes from it.
They go on this long, very well rehearsed diatribe
I'm gonna try and
about their patron deity. Kote is the mother of the ocean and the bringer of life, as they say. They brought the Soresh'Aleen to be along with the rest of the ocean, but they brought the Soresh'Aleen to be and live as the leaders of the ocean, and have striven for them to increase their strength and power along the ocean floor. The origin of the show Paul is, as they say, related to how the god herself was born in the darkest abyss and had to fight amongst the gods to own her place in the ocean.
As he's like saying it, I'm like writing it down in my notebook in my religion section, so I'm just taking a good old note of it. Try my hardest, like word for word, because I believe, because like, is he spoken like broken bestial or just good bestial?
It has like the equivalent of an accent, but you can understand it very well enough.
Yeah, so I just writing down as he's saying it into the notebook as he's doing it. Very well.
But one thing
more?
I will note is that he never refers to her. He never refers to Kote as you know them as Kote. He refers to them as the Fish Mother or the Allbringer.
Right.
The term Kote is never brought up. It seems to be entirely foreign to them.
Very well. Any more good pasture?
There is a long passage that they read, which seems to be in some form of attempt at poetry that you are just assuming translates very badly from Aquan to Bestial Common, so it doesn't sound as nice. But it is basically something akin to like, it's not as long as any of the like ancient Greek long poems or anything of the sort. You're not there for hours, but you're there for about like a good 5 minutes as they iterate this story.
if you give me a note later with all these past.
Yeah, I can give you a little bit of something later on, but it's basically recounting the initial War of the Sea, which is some very important moment. It's basically like the closest thing to a Big Bang under the ocean, and how the Sea Mother brought life to the ocean and the waves and the tides and all life underneath and whatnot. And it goes into extreme detail about a betrayal with the wind god and other such details, but it's all in a very poetic language, so it doesn't get very specific. It doesn't give you details.
And just Ish is just like, is there any more? It's like he's trying to get as much detail as possible.
They nod their heads, but they also just say, as much as I love talking about this, I've been working all day. I want to go home.
And Ish just puts the pencil and book back into the bubble underneath inside of his coat. Well, I would keep that noted. Very thank you, good pastor. Glory to the fish mother.
I am the fish seer.
Ah, the fish seer. Well, sorry. I'm used to the land walker languages.
The Longshank language.
Ah, there's more than just the Longshanks up there.
Yes.
Yes, there are kobolds, there are harpies, and as
there are chairs.
Yes, there are plenty of chairs. Besides that one, that's a mimic.
Mimic.
Yes, a mimic.
Sounds weird. It's chair. Goodbye.
Yeah.
And they just gather up the remainder of their things and walk past you.
Goodbye, Seifmit. Out it goes.
And now this place is empty. There are no locked doors for most of these buildings. You've seen one or two in very specific areas, but this room is sort of the norm, where it's just an open doorway with the water seal. Which, from what you can gather, is effective for what they need, because they are the only technically reptilian sort of creatures that live this deep underwater. So they're the only ones that can breathe this air. Anything else comes in here, except for maybe the whales and whatnot, which can't even fit, would just drown in air.
I would laugh if a whale could fit in them.
Yeah, no, the whales are mammals, but they wouldn't fit anyway, so it serves well enough as a gate of a sort for most things. There are only very specific areas that have anything remotely like a locked door to them in this area. So it's not like they're just waiting at the door for you to step out and close it behind you. They just leave. And now you stand in this empty place of fishy worship.
I take out the rest of the, what is it called? Sea root?
Air root.
Air root. And I just light it. Not literally, it's just a joke. You get the point. 420.
Yeah, you toss it back in and start chewing it a little bit to get the air from it. Your lungs, while you're still inside of the air room, your lungs feel like they're a little bit lighter and it's easier to breathe. And then you step out into the water and you can still breathe. I pass it around to
Zephyr and Chaise.
Lights up a joint and talks about it and into the water for
Hey man, fuck dude.
Yeah man, club, am I right?
And it just all the Soranians just join in. It just turns into a fucking underwater. It just turns into an underwater fucking rave inside of the church.
As you step outside, you can see what looks like, you know how in real life jets fly in formation overhead? Basically the same thing, except it's a group of Chopal with their spears off to hunt, going off towards the east. And life continues to run in this area. There is a larger shrine just to your northwest up here. But it seems like at this point in the day, you don't even know anymore that they have stopped most of their like ritual proceedings and are going about the more practical tasks of the day, like hunting and gathering and whatnot.
Well, it looks like they're going out for hunts, so at least they're keeping themselves busy.
Hmm.
Zephyr like points at the massive skeleton here.
Well, I would agree. It's a skeleton.
It is the skeleton of, at best, considering how deteriorated it is at this point, you can assume it's some form of strange, massive eel. But you can't really get more details beyond that because you don't even know what the heck it would be, really.
Zephyr, I would love to get an idea on what this is, but due to the deterioration of it, it looks like possibly a deep sea eel. Maybe. I don't know.
If so, I've never seen one, so
Let's hope we
That's
don't, if it's that big.
true.
Let's hope we don't.
To be fair, there have just been like casual great white sharks and whatnot floating above you, but they don't seem to ever get hostile and attempt to hunt you because you are not easy prey and they're not trying to expend more energy than is necessary.
Sorry. Yeah.
Meanwhile,
But,
the occasional elf on some driftwood looks like a certain fat aquatic mammal.
As soon as Zephyr says
bringing
elf,
real
Chaise
life
just
statistics into this, be gone with you, foul wench.
Chaise just like runs out and just swims immediately up to go nab him. Just turns into a propeller boat.
Little mini sub.
It's like dun. As Chaise is like turned into a shark and just swimming around him. Dun 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 dun.
Chair.
If you say that Chaise can only be in a chair form, it's a shark. But there's a chair hole in the side of it, though.
The shark and chair.
The chair.
Oh
shark.
my god, the shark and chair.
Oh my god. What have I done?
Forget shark and bear. Shark and chair. That's where it's at.
Just finding like a half-eaten corpse on a beach and just like, what was it, shark attack? No, chair.
You just see like marks of like the chair legs on its side embedded in. Just there's like a row of like 4 little stumps going up towards the neck where there's like a giant bite mark. Yeah. But yeah, with this, as of right now, this isn't probably going to be able to go on much longer as there isn't much else left to do down here other than continue resting up and return back to Stantrum.
Asch has done his little cultural exchange learning. He's ready to go up to the top and share the knowledge with the mayors of the town. Is it a town or a city?
It's a colony.
At
So
the
it's
colony and hopefully get some mutual understanding.
Yep.
Party got
But,
on a little, suggest a sort of found family dynamic. That was nice.
Pardon?
Oh, I said
I
the
like-
party got to talk a little, maybe suggest that found family dynamic. That was nice.
Yeah, I like the little bit of establishment. Like you guys got to actually share some story amongst one another, which was pretty
because
nice.
between characters, like Asch has really not much understanding on Zephyr's backstory and back area where she's from. Nor does anyone in the party with Asch, because he's been pretty secretive about his family because of current situations. One of them is an elf, and it's like, oh boy.
Yeah, these Soranian guys are sort of giving that species a bad name. That sucks. Brosh is a mixed culture, though. There are elves among the Brosh as well.
Yeah, I was gonna say I would assume none of my... Because I'm not going to state the law to give you more freedom of it, but I wouldn't think the elf is Soranian, because he's
No.
pretty chill.
If you were being raised by a mixed group, they wouldn't be Soranian, as Soranian is a very monoracial culture. Brosh is currently the only, like, mixed race culture you know of. And, I mean, the only other option is, like, freelance, unaligned, which doesn't really matter too much. But in all, that is going to be it for today. It is a shorter session than usual. Normally we go until about 4 p.m., but I will be honest with you. It is behoven of me not to move on too far without the remaining party members around, because they very much have a stake in this as well.
Yeah, without the full team, it's not the full adventure.
Yeah. I did enjoy what we did today, though, so thank you very much, everyone, for joining me.
Thank you, Zephyr, for playing on the family aesthetic, though.
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah, I enjoyed this very much. Very short, but very sweet.
Just want to make a point to Trixie. The entire time, Zephyr's health has been invisible to all of us besides you.
Ah, very interesting. I just need to update the shared vision of that.
Yeah, it's cool. It's a little higher now because it's a level up.
Like, I wanted to mention it earlier, but I was just like, no point.
Now you should be able to see it, but
Yeah,
with that in mind, let's say goodbye to the chat and everyone that's hanging around. Thank you very much for dropping by.
Thank you, and good night.
Bye, everyone.
Bonsoir, bonsoir.
Bonsoir, messieurs et mesdames.